Construction is the most dangerous industry on Earth. According to the International Labour Organization, more than 1,000 construction workers lose their lives every single day around the world. Even in advanced economies, countries with strict regulations, mandatory safety programs, and robust inspection regimes, fatal accident rates on job sites have proven stubbornly resistant to improvement. South Korea offers a striking example. In 2023, construction sites there recorded an average of more than half a fatality per day, placing the country among the highest in the OECD for construction fatality rates. 2 years after sweeping workplace safety legislation took effect, workers and site managers alike reported that day-to-day conditions had barely changed. But right now, something new is entering the picture. Artificial intelligence is beginning to intervene, and on the sites where it has been deployed, accident rates have dropped by more than 60%. Today, we are going to completely dissect that result. So why is construction so inherently dangerous? It is not simply because the work is physically demanding. There are deep structural reasons, and understanding them is the only way to understand why conventional safety approaches keep falling short. First, the physical environment changes every single day. As a project moves from foundation to framing to finishing, the hazard profile transforms completely. A walkway that was safe yesterday becomes a fall risk zone today, and no static signage or weekly briefing can keep pace with that rate of change. Second, the workforce is fluid. Skilled tradespeople work alongside newly trained laborers, and on international projects, multilingual and migrant workers frequently represent 30% or more of the site population, creating serious communication gaps when a hazard warning needs to reach everyone fast. Third, the supervisory math simply does not work. One safety manager physically cannot watch dozens of workers spread across multiple elevations and zones at once. The result is that accidents do not happen because of bad luck. They happen because structural blind spots exist, and they repeat in exactly the same blind spots, over and over. That is precisely where AI is being aimed. The core of an AI construction safety system is computer vision. Put simply, cameras become the eyes, and AI becomes the brain. IP cameras positioned throughout the site transmit a live video feed, and the AI analyzes dozens of frames every second, scanning for hazardous conditions in real time. The capability here goes far beyond simple motion detection. These systems can identify whether a worker is wearing a hard hat, whether a harness is properly fastened, whether someone has entered a restricted danger zone without authorization, and, critically, whether a piece of moving equipment is on a collision trajectory with a worker before contact actually occurs. Leading AI safety platforms currently deployed on major job sites can monitor up to 30 workers simultaneously within a 50-meter radius from a single camera. When a hazard is detected, the system triggers an alert to the site manager in seconds, not minutes. Human supervisors miss things. They get distracted. They get fatigued. They can only look in one direction at a time. AI does not. The numbers reflect this reality clearly. AI-assisted monitoring detects hazardous conditions at a rate more than double that of visual inspection alone, and significantly outperforms conventional CCTV monitoring without an AI analysis layer. So how do you actually bring an AI safety system onto a real construction site? The process can look intimidating from the outside, but it breaks down into 4 essential steps. And getting each one right is what separates a successful deployment from an expensive experiment that gets abandoned 6 months in. The single most important thing to understand before you begin is this: the technology is not the hard part. The hard part is the operational framework around it. You can install cameras and switch on AI, and you will still have achieved only half of what you need. If you have not decided in advance who receives the alert, how quickly they are expected to respond, and what the follow-up reporting chain looks like, the system will not save lives. It will just generate noise that eventually gets ignored. Let us look at the results where numbers are on record. A major South Korean construction group began piloting AI video analysis across 9 of its high-rise residential project sites in 2022. 1 year later, it reported a 62% reduction in the rate of actual incidents relative to the volume of unsafe behaviors detected, meaning the system was not just flagging more hazards, it was triggering interventions that prevented those hazards from becoming accidents. The international cases are equally compelling. Singapore's Building and Construction Authority mandated AI-assisted safety monitoring at a national level, and within 3 years of the program's rollout, construction fatalities across the country had fallen by 41%, a statistically dramatic drop in what is already one of the world's most tightly regulated construction markets. In the United States, autonomous construction technology firm Built Robotics has deployed AI-guided drones for automated inspection of high-rise exterior work, cutting the amount of time workers must spend in high-exposure fall-risk positions by 80%. Across all 3 cases, one pattern stands out. The sites that combined AI technology with updated training programs and institutional policy changes consistently outperformed those that simply installed hardware and expected results. If the results are this clear, why has not every construction site already made the switch? We need to look at the barriers honestly, because they are real, and glossing over them leads to failed deployments. The first barrier is cost. For a mid-sized construction site, the initial investment in an AI safety system typically falls somewhere between $20,000 and $100,000, depending on site scale and vendor. For smaller contractors operating on thin margins, that is a genuinely difficult number to absorb, even when the long-term liability savings are substantial. The second barrier is worker privacy. Recording and continuously analyzing the faces and movements of workers for 12 hours a day generates serious pushback. Labor unions and worker advocacy groups in multiple countries have raised legitimate objections, and navigating those concerns requires more than a technical solution. It requires policy and trust building. The third barrier is false alarms, dust, backlighting, and workwear that looks similar across different roles can cause the system to fire inaccurate alerts. When that happens repeatedly, site managers develop what is known as alert fatigue. They stop trusting the system, override the notifications, and the entire investment becomes decorative. Solving all 3 of these barriers is not optional. It is a prerequisite for a deployment that actually holds. AI-powered safety management is not a perfect solution. No technology ever is. But what is no longer in question is whether human attention alone is sufficient to protect workers on modern construction sites. The evidence says clearly, it is not. The encouraging news is that the trajectory is moving in the right direction. Computer vision systems are becoming more accurate and more affordable. Governments and international building authorities around the world are introducing incentive programs and smart construction initiatives that help smaller contractors access the technology. Industry bodies, from the ILO to regional construction standards agencies, are beginning to embed AI monitoring into the frameworks they recommend and, in some jurisdictions, require. The question for architects, contractors, and safety managers is no longer whether AI will become a standard part of construction site operations. It is how quickly your organization will make that shift, and whether you will be ahead of it or catching up to it. If today's video gave you a new perspective on where construction safety is heading, subscribe and leave us a comment below. We want to know, what is the most urgent safety challenge on your site right now? Your answer will shape what we cover next.